FanDuel, though, to bring us into it. You know I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer teams, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to anymore. FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. That's right. This summer, FanDuel is up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
When you say you don't want sports to stop, it reminds me of that dark time of COVID when there were no sports for like 2 months.
Oh, man.
And I was watching Korean League baseball.
You want to watch NASCAR with me?
And I was not watching that.
And it was wild because Australia and like New Zealand was open.
Yeah.
And so they was playing all kind of soccer matches, and they're like, this is what you could do in America if you guys wear masks.
Yeah. And then we were doing a 5-hour radio show with no commercial breaks and nothing to talk about. Go ahead,
Crazy.
Mike.
I'm actually going to let Earl set this topic
all right,
up
Earl,
because
set it
this
up.
is a spin-off of what he and G did yesterday on the Ultimate 216 show, and I thought it'd be a good conversation for all of us to have here.
Go ahead, Earl.
Hey, first of all, if you didn't see the Ultimate 216 show yesterday with me, G. Bush, and Quincy Carrier, go back after this show and check that out. So we talked about wins versus stats, and this came along because social media was, kind of going back and forth about Deshaun Watson putting up crazy numbers versus the Browns winning. For me, I think we all feel differently, but this is just me. And Bull, I've had this stance the entire time that Deshaun Watson has been here. I never really say you can go back and check the tape, but you can go back and check the tape here and at 92.3 The Fan. I have not changed my stance. Deshaun Watson will always be measured for me in wins and losses, not in stats. I don't think Deshaun Watson has to be the reason more often than not that the Cleveland Browns win games. There will be some games to where he's going to have to put that cape on and go out there and get a dub. But as long as Deshaun Watson is not losing games, I'm cool. As long as you're not turning the football over, as long as you can come through in the clutch with a big play in a big-time moment, I'm cool. I don't give a damn about stats. I don't care about none of that. Can you help lead the Cleveland Browns to a Super Bowl? And this is why I feel this way. There's a lot of great individual players throughout the NFL, and no matter how good they are, they don't end the season with a Super Bowl ring. Why? Because their contribution alone wasn't good enough to get the job done. You need all 11 parts on the same side of the football moving in the same direction to get accomplished what you're trying to get accomplished.
All right. The idea to me that Deshaun Watson could be mediocre and that's okay is insanity. We traded for Deshaun Watson to be great. The Browns didn't give up what they gave up for him to be mediocre. They didn't pay him what they paid him to be mediocre. If we wanted mediocre, we already had it. Baker Mayfield's mediocre. He's an average NFL quarterback. It's not okay for Deshaun Watson to be mediocre. The Browns can't win a Super. You could say it's about wins. First of all, I don't want to hear about his win-loss record to this point. First, a win-loss record is not just the quarterback, it's the whole team. All right? Especially Deshaun Watson's win-loss record in Cleveland. It's disingenuous. It's very disingenuous to make an argument that Deshaun Watson's been fine in Cleveland based on the win-loss record. Because I did not do that for Baker Mayfield. And it sounds, when you do that, you sound like the Baker Mayfield apologists. So I'm not going to hear that. You could make whatever argument you want. You could look through a tiny lens and find a stat or two that defends Deshaun Watson. The bottom line is he's been a major disappointment in his 2 years here. There's no other way about it. In my opinion, they have not won a single game in 2 years because of him. Now, I know people are going to argue the Ravens' second half. You could argue that one. There's an argument there. I don't believe they won that game because of him. I think it's been overstated how great he played. Now, I give him a lot of credit for playing as well as he did with an arm injury, but I think we've gone over the top on how great that second half was because he threw for like 100 yards. I know he completed all his passes. They were all short passes. I'm not killing him. He played fine, played well in that second half, but let's not go over the top. Outside of that one game, maybe, you can't argue another game he's played here in 2 years that they've won because of him. You can win because of a quarterback, you can win with a quarterback, or you can in spite of a quarterback. And most of the games they've won with him, either with him or in spite of him. Mostly with him, where he's been okay, and they've played well, and that's it. As I said, the Browns, the reason we were all excited The reason I went bananas on the radio when they traded for Deshaun Watson is because I thought they traded for a superstar. And you win in the NFL with superstars. You don't win. It's easy to just say, well, if they win, that's all that matters. Fine. They're not winning a Super Bowl if Deshaun Watson's not special. You could con yourself into believing they could, but it's not happening. Not in this AFC, not with Patrick Mahomes, not with his division. If Deshaun Watson is Baker Mayfield, then what the hell did you give up all you gave up for him? So if Deshaun Watson is not a star, then the trade was a bad trade. It's that simple. I mean, I don't know whether you want to say if they win a Super Bowl, okay. But if Deshaun Watson's not a star, they're not going to win a Super Bowl.
This is very odd.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sitting on here in two opposing conversations, and I see where people are coming from on both angles. But if you say who do you align most with, I got to go with Abner Bull on this one. You know why, Earl? I got to go with Abner Bull. Now, I always say, I agree with you, winning is what matters.
Yes,
but,
ultimately.
Ultimately. But where we at and what type of time we on, you ain't gonna be getting much wins if you ain't putting up them numbers.
No.
Like, let's be clear. Like, you're in a division with some of the best quarterbacks to ever put shoes on, and you're not gonna have a lot of 200 wins, 200-yard games where you got wins. 225,
Nope.
one. That's not gonna work. For me, I look at it in terms of this. I say, look, I can't move the post. Baker Mayfield won some games. And he went into Pittsburgh and won some games. And people held that on the pedestal like that was the shining times of our lives.
Yeah.
And you know what? For some people it was, because we did go into Pittsburgh. We did win a lot of games that year. But they decided that Baker Mayfield, being who Baker Mayfield was not consistent enough or good enough to beat the top-notch teams. So they made a deal for Deshaun Watson. So you got Deshaun Watson. I've been clear on it too. I need 4,000 plus. I didn't switch up. Don't you get fooled. You need 4,000 just on alone what Flacco did. You need 4 racks just because of that. And at the end of the day, when we start to look at the whole totality of quarterback play, yes, we look at quarterback play and we say it's the most important position. If it's the most important position, let me ask you a question, Dan. Why all of a sudden do we got different standards for Myles Garrett? What we say to Myles Garrett, he won the Defensive Player of the Year. That means he's the best defender in the game. And we still say what?
Could be better.
You got to give me more.
Yeah.
You got to do something when the game is on the line.
That's right.
You got to get strip sacks, and you got to get tackles for loss, and you got to have more sacks in the cold weather or on the road, and when it counts the most in playoff atmosphere. We say Nick Chubb, he done tore up his whole knee. I expect Nick Chubb to be back week 1 and be Nick Chubb.
Yeah, right.
He's Nick Chubb, right? I expect him to do that. But why? You can't get to Deshaun Watson and say all that matters is winning. That's not truthful. Winning counts.
Okay.
But them damn stats count too. I need both, the best of both worlds. Because to win, you need those numbers.
All right, so I'm not moving the goalpost. This has been my stance since we traded for him. I hear you, Bull, and your opinion is the opinion that fans have. But I can look at Deshaun Watson himself and see him have a season where he put up all the stats and it didn't produce wins. You can go back over the last few years of football. I instantly think about Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, 2 quarterbacks who year in and year out, they stuff the stat sheet. But when it matters most, they don't win those big games. And if you ask fans from those fan bases, at the end of the day, they don't give a damn about those stats because those teams didn't accomplish the overall goal. I'm not saying, and I never used the word mediocre.
Yeah.
I never said that Deshaun Watson could be mediocre and the Browns be successful. What I'm saying is Deshaun Watson don't have to put up top 5 numbers in the entire NFL for the Browns to have success.
Yes, he does.
For me, don't lose me the game. The stat that I look at the most, turnovers. Don't be top 5 in the NFL in turnovers, because if you're turning the ball over, 9 times out of 10, we're not winning those games. There's going to be games throughout the season to where he's going to be in a shootout, to where the Browns is going to be down 4 points within a minute to go, and the field goal ain't going to cut it. We're going to need Deshaun Watson to be clutch in clutch moments. And as long as he's come through in those moments, and those clutch moments with big plays and help us win and not turn the football over, then to me, that's what matters. And at the end of the day, before you go, I think to most fans who even agree with you, if we get to January and the Browns got an opportunity to win the Super Bowl, nobody's going to care how we got there, as long as we get there.
But you're not going to get to the Super Bowl unless he plays like a star. So I think your argument is, I get what you're saying, but it doesn't make any sense because the Browns are not going. You said, the Cowboys fans are not happy with Dak Prescott or Bills fans are not happy with Josh Allen. Wouldn't we take Dak Prescott or Josh Allen over Deshaun Watson right now?
Me and you had that conversation. I told you I wouldn't take that.
That's crazy.
We had that conversation like 3 weeks ago.
There's no argument.
For the simple fact that, not to cut you off, but for the simple fact, if you took Dak Prescott, in my opinion, and put him on this current Browns team, Dak Prescott issues are still the same. He still crumbles in big moments. He still doesn't show it when his team needs him the most.
How many playoff wins does Deshaun Watson have?
Not as many. Not that many. Neither does Dak Prescott. But we can say that about a lot of different quarterbacks.
Earl, you can't say. Wait a second.
And then to something else you said. Wait a
second. You can't say that Dak Prescott crumbles in the big moments, which I don't even believe that that's really true. I don't think they lost in the playoffs because of him. He's had some bad games.
His playoff stats, he's got 14 touchdowns, 7 picks.
Yeah, how's that crumbling in the big moments?
I've seen Dak Prescott play with my own 2 eyes. And that's what I mean about stats. To me, stats don't always tell a full story. I think football played out game to game, moment to moment. It can be different.
Has Deshaun Watson played well in Cleveland?
Deshaun Watson has played well enough to win.
Come on, stop it, Earl.
He's played well enough to win.
Stop it, Earl.
You don't think the
Cowboys, who won more? The Cowboys won. You're killing Dak Prescott. They won.
Well, I'm not arguing your point.
Yeah.
You see it how you see it. I'm not saying you're wrong.
You have changed the goalposts.
But I haven't.
Because you wouldn't have made these same arguments for Baker. It's silly.
You don't know that. Did you ask me that when Baker was here?
It's silly.
Did you ask me that when Baker was here? Did you ask me that when Baker was here?
I don't even remember. It doesn't matter.
If I would have made the same argument. This has been my stance since he's been here. So how am I changing the goalposts?
It's ridiculous.
For me,
to say
it's about winning.
Well.
Because I've seen Deshaun Watson put up big numbers.
They haven't won because of him.
And he's put up big numbers and his team didn't do a damn thing.
That's 1 year. What are you talking about?
Here's the thing that I believe that you could do 2 things at one time. Just because Deshaun Watson put up big numbers and his team didn't perform well did not mean that that you either have a bunch of stats and your team sucks. No, well, that means if his stats are great, you go back and look at what the other pieces and parts were doing.
Right.
Did your offensive line work? Did you have a running game? What was your defense like? You can't put it all on Deshaun Watson and say he threw for 4,800 yards.
Wins and losses is not a quarterback stat. It's a team stat.
But just like everybody's saying that he has to have the stats, those same people...
Because the stats are going to translate to wins.
But it doesn't always happen that way, Bull, is what I'm saying.
Earl, he didn't have a good team there. Of course it doesn't. More often than not, good stats lead to wins more than bad stats. Is that fair?
Yeah,
of course. So what are you talking about?
But I'm not. But you're saying that he has to have top 5 quarterback numbers, and I
didn't necessarily say top 5.
But when I said that, you said yes, he does.
Well, he's got to be top 10. Doesn't necessarily have to be 5. It could be 6.
Don't turn the football over and come through in the clutch. I'm not saying Deshaun Watson could be a bottom 10 quarterback and the Browns have success. What I'm saying is he don't have to be a top 5 quarterback and the Browns can still have success.
We don't have to dicker about whether it's 5 or 7. He's got to be. He's got to be a great quarterback for them to win.
Here's what I'm saying. For me, if you look at the quarterbacks he's playing against, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, 2 or 3 for 5,000 yards. Like when you're getting Stroud, Lamar Jackson. These are the guys that are in your division. In order to beat those guys, you are going to have to not turn the ball over. I need you to make me a play. I need a play. Like in some days, you're gonna look at Patrick Mahomes and he ain't gonna miss at all. The whole game, he's not missing. 3rd down, he making plays. I need you to do the same exact thing.
And what's that called, G? Is that not coming through in the clutch?
Listen, I need him to come through in the clutch and in the first quarter and in the second quarter
Earl,
and in the third quarter.
You're dreaming up a scenario.
I need all that.
No, wait a second. You're dreaming up this weird scenario where
weird.
he throws. It is weird because give me an example of a quarterback who's done that in recent years. That is a decent quarterback. Only plays great in big moments, doesn't turn the ball over in big moments, and the team wins at a high level. Give me an example. Can you name one example?
I think you try to twist my words. You're trying to twist my words. I never said only play great in big moments. What I'm saying is you're not listening. This is what I need from Deshaun Watson. Don't turn the football over. Don't be the reason we lose games. And come through in the clutch moments when we need you to be the reason we win.
Earl.
You're making it seem like that every single game Deshaun has to be the reason we win.
I'm not saying that.
But that's how you're making it seem.
He has
you're coming
to be the
off
reason
that way.
they win a lot. because he's the quarterback and it's the most important position. And you're playing in an AFC where the Chiefs win a lot because of Mahomes, where the Bengals win a lot because of Burrow, where the Ravens win a lot because of Lamar Jackson. Those guys are not along for the ride. Let me ask you a question.
You watch a lot of football, right?
Yes.
Last regular season, not postseason, regular season. In your opinion, did the Chiefs win a lot because of Mahomes?
Yes.
Mahomes had a statistically worst year of the season last year. He threw 14 interceptions. If you watch a lot of those games, the defense was the catalyst that picked him up more often than not. When they got to the playoffs, Mahomes was Mahomes.
Ultimately,
he threw 6 touchdowns and 1 interception,
the defense
and he led them to the Super Bowl.
Let me tell you something. How many games did the Chiefs win last year? 10? 11? You can talk about the defense all you want. If they had some slappy playing quarterback instead of Patrick Mahomes, they would have won 5 games last year. I don't care about the defense.
They won 11.
All right? The Browns are not winning the Super Bowl because of Myles Garrett. If they're going to win the Super Bowl, it's going to be because of Deshaun Watson, and that's it. So if Deshaun Watson's the 17th best quarterback in the league, you can kiss the Super Bowl goodbye. And if the Browns were, and I'll tell you, you know who else is not comfortable with your scenario? Deshaun Watson and the Browns. Because when the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, they didn't say, well, we don't care about the stats, just win.
I disagree with that.
We'll win with you.
You know why I disagree with that? I just literally watched the podcast. G, we used some of those clips yesterday where his quarterback coach talked to him about, he said, Deshaun, I want to see you be great as an individual. And Deshaun said, yeah, that's cool and all, but I'm trying to win, even if the stats don't match that. So for you to say that Deshaun Watson wouldn't be comfortable with that, he didn't say that himself.
And he's what's known in technical terms as full of shit. He doesn't even believe that. There's no way he believes that. Come on.
You know what I would tell him? I'm going to be honest with you. I done been in them huddles. I done sat there, and there's times where I'd had somebody behind me that I didn't believe was going to make no plays. And I'm like, yeah, we're screwed. But there is times when we had somebody behind me that we're blocking for, and you're like, oh, yeah, he got that magic. We're going to get it done. And if I was his teammate, when they get in that huddle, I'm not telling him to be regular. I'm telling him to be that dude. Because that's what we need.
He was that dude in Houston.
That's what we
need. When the Browns traded for him, we all thought they got the second best quarterback in the league, or at the very least, a top 5 quarterback in the league. Now, you want to tell me he's the 7th best quarterback? I don't give a crap if he's 3rd or 7th. That's irrelevant. But the Browns traded. You didn't give up what you gave up to be just okay in the big moments. You gave up what you gave up, and you paid him the biggest contract in the history of football at the time because you thought he'd be great. Because you thought he'd be great, you thought he'd be great, and I thought he'd be great. And there was no doubt in any of us minds. And now we're all saying, well, not we're all. Some of us, Earl, saying, well, he doesn't have to be great. He's just got to be not turn the ball. That's why you traded for him to not turn the ball over.
I think you think that
I could get Tyrod Taylor to not turn the ball over.
I just think you think I'm moving the goalposts, and from literally the time that this trade has been made, I've said the same thing. You brought up Baker Mayfield. When Baker Mayfield was the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, my attitude was the same. As long as Baker don't go out there and lose us the game, if Baker plays well enough and we come out victorious on Sunday, that's good enough for me.
But it's not good enough. That's Earl. You can't win a Super Bowl that way.
Bull, I'm telling you what's good enough for me.
All right, then you're okay with him not winning a Super Bowl.
You can't change my mind. If the Browns won a lot of games and ended up winning the Super Bowl, I don't give a damn how it happened.
Of course.
We won the Super Bowl.
But Earl, you're being unrealistic. They're not going to win.
No, I'm telling you my honest opinion.
But Earl,
I don't care how it happens, boy.
Nobody cares.
You could jump up and down and try to tell me he got to throw for 50,000 yards, whatever. I don't care. Win the Super Bowl.
Of course, who would disagree with that if they win the Super Bowl?
And that's the bottom line I'm making you.
The bottom line is they can't win the Super Bowl unless he plays at a high level, and you know that. So what? So your argument is pointless.
My argument is not pointless because I'm not. You're trying to make it seem like I'm saying that Deshaun Watson don't have to come through and don't have to perform. I never said that.
So what is your point?
My point is Deshaun Watson can't be the reason we lose. Deshaun Watson needs to come.
No, he's got to be the reason they win.
He has to be the reason. I did say that. Boy, you're making it seem like I never said nothing that you're saying right now.
So you just wanted to not turn the ball over.
Hey, Deshaun, I'm going to get real specific with you. Listen, you can have 2 things at once. I need 4,500 and I need these wins. I need about 30-plus touchdowns, and I don't need all the interceptions, dog. I need them numbers because here's the thing. Chances are if you give me 300 a game, I know the defense ain't going to give up all these yards. I know they ain't going to do that, right, because they got a good defense. And if you get 4,500, that means Jerry Jeudy was balling. That means Amari Cooper was balling. That means Elijah Moore was even doing his thing. I ain't said you got to throw for 5. Matter of fact, I'll take 4. Give me 4, 30-plus, and 12 touchdowns. I'll roll with that, maybe 300 on the ground, and I like the numbers,
The
man.
better his numbers are, the more they're going to win. That's the bottom line.
like
if
the
he
numbers.
puts up mediocre numbers, they're going to be a mediocre team. They might be a little better than mediocre in the regular season. They're not winning the Super Bowl.
What's
They didn't trade
mediocre
for a
to you?
mediocre quarterback.
In your opinion, what's
Baker
mediocre?
Mayfield is a mediocre quarterback. And by the way, with Baker, if they would have had Baker Mayfield the last 2 years play the same exact games that Deshaun Watson would, they probably would have the same record, maybe better. I think it'd be hard to argue anything else, and everybody knows that I'm not a Baker Mayfield.
And by the way, Baker Mayfield threw for 4 last year.
Yeah.
28 touchdowns, 94.6 rating.
I just think it's completely disingenuous to argue that Deshaun Watson's played well.
If Baker give me 4,
For 2
you
points.
can give me 4.
Yeah, let's go. That's not a high bar, 4,000 yards.
Give me the 4.
Go ahead.
Bush, if
Good
Evan
argument.
Mobley can score 15 points in the regular season, what can Amani Bates average?
Oh!
And that's what we're going to talk about in 1 sec after